All right, welcome back to another episode of the 100% Wild Podcast. I'm Mark Kenyon with Wired to Hunt.
I'm Matt Drury with Drury Outdoors.
I'm Coon Dog.
And we had Coon Dog on for a past episode. We answered a listener-submitted question.
Yes.
And we just had so much fun with that.
We did.
That we thought we just need to talk some more, share some stories, laugh a little bit.
That's right. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're having fun, why not do more, right?
That's correct.
Well, that's what it's all about.
And Coon Dog, that's the beauty of Coon Dog. Like, no matter when you have him in camp, we always have a good time together, and we have I think it reminds me of what I felt like hunting always should be about. And so growing up in it, it was a little different for me because there was always that camera aspect of it. It was always, never hunted without a camera guy. And of course, in the early years, it was always Dad. And it was a lot of stress because in those days, that was when they were starting. That was when they were trying to get the company off the ground, and they were stressed. And it didn't necessarily make hunting fun. But later in life, when I circled back around to it and started hunting again after I worked for him for a little bit after college, and coming to camps and being around guys like Coon Dog is what made me ultimately want to get back into hunting, because it's like, this is fun. This is a good time, man. We were never really a part of those experiences in the early days when I was doing it with just Dad. So I definitely credit guys like Coon Dog and Yapper and Comstock and Kilmer. These are our staple of guys that are always at Dad's or Mark's, and just makes it fun. And so that's kind of what today's all about, right?
Hunting stories, good memories, that is what it's all about.
Yeah. So today's a little different. We don't really necessarily have a question of the day from any of the viewers, but we thought we had to take this opportunity and share some more of these stories, right?
Yeah, but my little story is going to be a hurt my feelings story.
Uh-oh. Well, let's just start right there.
It's from a guy from across the table right here.
Oh, Matt.
Matt. He hurt my feelings one night.
What'd you do?
Well,
I'm a T-shirt guy. Every turkey camp, I'd make up a T-shirt. I mean, every year, every season had a new theme. St. Louis Cardinals, whatever it might be. Well, I'm a big Elvis fan.
Okay. Margarita.
Yeah, so on the back of this shirt, I had a margarita glass with Elvis in it. And I gave Matt his shirt, and he goes, "Oh, Gumby." And I was like, "No, Elvis."
Didn't
Come
look
on,
like
man.
Gumby.
That hurt my feelings. I worked real hard at that.
Yeah. So at some point, you and I connected, and I started giving you our guy that does our T-shirts.
Definitely.
And that helped out
A lot, yeah.
That improved the quality a little bit.
Oh,
bit.
real good. So, yeah.
But that's part of it. Camp, that was part of the fun of going to camp. It was a tradition. Coon Dog handing out these T-shirts to all of us.
That's
drew
awesome.
names, who we were going to hunt with.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to hunt with Mark, and he always drew Mark. I think he cheated.
And those first few years, I hunted with Mark opening day.
Bam.
It was before Taylor was starting to hunt with us.
Yeah, good point.
I don't get it, opening day with Mark. If you hunted opening day with Mark, you were killing off the roost every time.
Yep, that's one good thing about Taylor when she don't want to get up in the morning.
Someone takes advantage of it.
Yeah, I kill Taylor's bird. I always tell Taylor, "Thanks for your bird." She goes, "No problem, let me sleep."
Because in Iowa, obviously, they can hunt all day.
Yeah.
So she takes advantage of those afternoon hunts quite a bit.
I'll hunt later.
It's worked out well for her.
That's been a long trend for her, hasn't it? With deer and turkeys and everything.
Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah. I don't see the trend changing either.
Is she still not doing mornings too much?
No.
Even now?
A little more now than ever. She's a little better about it now, yeah.
If we get a hot bird,
yeah,
or
on
several
the roost,
hot birds,
yeah, on the roost,
and she goes
she'll
with us
up.
to roost them, she'll get up in the morning and go.
She gets excited
Yeah.
then.
Oh, yeah, she's ready to go.
Yeah. That's fun.
And that's what I miss about our core turkey get-together, because we always used to be at one camp. Well, we're split up a little bit now because we got different things we're doing.
Yeah.
Trying to do live hunts and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, it's it all works together. They got Kilmer and Comstock. I feel sorry for Matt and Terry. But, we got Wade, Taylor, myself, and Mark. So, it's fun. It's
Pretty good
real
crew.
It's a good time.
Good time.
Yeah, that camp atmosphere there is pretty special. Like, we just did a shed hunting camp in Iowa, and there was a group of like 8 or 9 of my best hunting buddies, and we all camped out there. And we, like we just said in one of the past episodes, we didn't find junk for sheds.
Right.
But we were crying, laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, like almost every day, all night, we are laughing and telling stories. And I mean, and we've got a group text message still going now. Well, we have it like all year round, and it's just like endless one-liners from little stories, or like, do you remember this one time? Or I mean, it's just those moments with buddies. related to hunting is what I think makes it so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to treat every day like it could be your last.
Yeah.
Serious. I mean, you got to enjoy your friends, your family. I mean, it's very important. And the DOD family, it don't get no tighter.
Yeah. It's
tight.
pretty tight knit.
Yes.
We treat our Drury Outdoors team just like we do our actual family, like
Yes.
they are family, and so
100%.
it makes it a little more special because a lot of these guys have been with us, 10, 15 years plus.
Yeah.
So speaking of family usually have embarrassing stories about each other.
Yeah.
Do you know anything, Coon Dog, embarrassing about Matt? Anything
Yes, I was with him on his first turkey hunt.
How'd that
Killed
go?
up at Barry's. He was, as a matter of fact, he was with Jim Howe.
Yeah, my first turkey hunt, working at Drury Outdoors. Yes. Yeah.
It was so funny because the turkey was flopping. So Matt and Jim ran up to the turkey and was trying to get it. It's flopping. They're trying to step on its head and they're reaching for it. And me and Terry were just laughing so hard watching these two monkeys trying to grab that turkey.
Jim Howell's one of our editors as well. So that's the only time we've ever done this in the whole company's history, I think. But every editor, and they were none hunters. I was the only one that had any hunting experience. Jim went and got his hunter safety card, and then the two other editors videoed the hunts or whatever with us, along with all the professionals, Mark and Dad.
A bunch of editors who haven't hunted before.
Yeah, all of them. And it was very entertaining. I still got over in our break room. We have a picture frame with a bunch of pictures from that hunt, and it was a good time. It was interesting, and they got to see why we enjoy it so much. And I'm sure we fried up some turkey breasts and all that good stuff. Yeah, fish, but it was funny.
Good.
But probably one of my funniest stories would be hunting with Uncle Mark when I was a young kid, and he's gonna kill me.
Oh, I want to hear it.
So he used to always get like a Yoo-hoo in the morning, like Little Debbie and a Yoo-hoo or something like that. We were at the gas station and got something to. I think we were up at where Tad Brown, so like Chillicothe probably,
yep.
right? And Dad was there, and Tad Brown, who's a longtime friend and worked at Mad Calls forever. He's no longer with them. I think he works at is it Hunter Specialties?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course.
Well, so anyway, so he always had this celebrity hunt. It was a turkey hunt, and there's several stories about this celebrity turkey hunt. But one year, so Dad, Mom, and I would always, because it was like a chance for Mom and I to get to go up there. We'd stay in a little motel there, and Mark was taking me hunting one morning, and so we got out there, and we were, as I can remember, and I was little. And as I remember it, he was trying to get something to shot gobble off the roost, and we weren't having much luck. And it was pitch black, and it was early in the morning, and all of a sudden he told me to stay here, stand in this spot, don't move. And I couldn't have been maybe 8, 9, somewhere in there, 8, 9 years old. He said, "Don't move. I'll be right back." He left, and I swear to you, he didn't come back for an hour, it felt like. And I never knew this until years later, that he had an issue, an accident, and he was having trouble getting cleaned up from that issue. And so
we can publish this to the world.
Yeah, so he comes back. No, the joke's on me ultimately, because he comes back finally, and it's we get on a bird and we go to a tree, and we lean against the tree, and I'm sitting in his lap, and I didn't know any of this. So the joke's on me, right? But it's there's a much more graphic version that I could go on for days, but that's one of the classics. And then that same celebrity turkey hunt, they did it every year for the longest time, and they had. The only guy I ever really remember, Wilford Brumley was one of them, right? The old actor that was, people our age probably know him for the diabetes commercial.
They're Googling it. Who's that guy?
Yeah, but the guy from Seinfeld, Elaine's boss, he was there for a turkey hunt. He was a soap actor at the time. That's why he was a celebrity. This is before Seinfeld. Wow. And then Dad had the guy, you would randomly pick names, and these professional hunters like Dad and Mark and whoever, they'd get teamed up with a celebrity, and they'd have to go guide them, and there were rules, and you got to be in by a certain time, and there was all these rules. Well, one year they couldn't find Dad and his celebrity hunter, and I forget what his name was. They didn't check in at check-in time or whatever. They never showed up. And that people are starting to get really worried. And this is a little bitty town that they were doing this in. And because it wasn't Chillicothe, it was...
was it Warsaw?
Warsaw, yeah. So, I mean, it's not a little bitty town, but it's relatively small. And everybody was involved in the celebrity hunt. And so they were getting super worried about Dad and his celebrity hunter. And I forget, he was like an old time, like he was an actor in the, like old cowboy movies and stuff like that, like westerns. He was like a new John Wayne really well, that kind of guy. And Dad said that the guy didn't want to hunt. He woke up, he's kind of a crabby old guy or whatever, and he didn't want to hunt. And so Dad suggested they go have a drink that morning. And so everybody's looking for these two. Everybody is looking for these two, and they're worried something happened to them. Because this is before cell phones. Right. They had no way to check in unless they actually checked in. And so finally somebody asked Mark, Tad or Tad's wife, somebody asked Mark, where could Terry be? And he said, have you checked the bars? And sure enough, this guy and Dad were at the bar all morning and all day and never went hunting. And my mom, I was there with them. Mom and I had went to the hunt, and they were asking Mom where he was. And she got so upset with Dad that she packed up and we left the hunt. I remember it vividly. It's one of those stories. I know I shouldn't tell this stuff, but it's one of those classic this is like early 90s, right? It's one of those classic Drury outdoor stories that usually only people inside the walls know about, but that's one of the classics.
Man. I'll tell you what, one of my favorite stories that your Uncle Mark told. It was Mark who was telling, and I won't retell the whole story because it was one of our past episodes, but that one time he talked about how mad he got at Terry for not shooting that buck.
No, it was that Dad got mad at Mark because Mark was telling Dad to rattle.
Rattle.
And Dad finally, in the middle of the timber, screamed at Mark. They were in two separate trees. He said, if you got a problem with it, you want to rattle, hot shot, you rattle. And Mark, they were hotheads. They were, back then, I mean, they still got a little bit of that, but they've cooled down a lot. Back then, they were hotheads. And he said, you want a piece of me? You climb up this tree. And Mark climbed down his tree and climbed up Mark's tree and up Terry's tree. And Dad's like, hey, deer's coming. And Mark climbed back down his tree and climbed back up his own tree, and that's how that story goes. But that deer, they both said saved each other's lives. But I know, it was a Dad climbing up Mark's tree because Mark's plan was he was gonna kick. That's what he was gonna kick Dad on his way up from the stand.
That is rich. That is very rich.
And what is it all around? What does it all come around to? It's hunting. All these good memories is cause of hunting.
Funny stories.
Coon Dog. Do you remember your first deer? Your first deer story?
My first deer story. The first deer I ever harvested?
Yep.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Can tell us?
Sure. It was on public land. Me and a couple buddies, roofing buddies back in construction. We went down there. We stayed in a little camper, and we went out that night. We got down there like at 8, 9 o'clock at night. We all grabbed our stands and hang-ons and whatever we had, So we go out in the woods, and we're out in the middle of the night tromping around looking for a good tree. Well, found a good tree. Climbed up it that next morning. Sitting there, here come a deer. 10-pointer. Shot it. Fell down.
10-pointer?
Yeah, it was a 10-pointer. Not, just
year and a half, 10-pointer.
Yeah. So I shoot this deer. It falls on the ground. So I climb down, and all of a sudden after I shot it, somebody went, hey. I was like, wow, what's that? Is that you? I go, yeah. Dennis, is that you? He goes, yeah, where you at? We were just on the opposite side of a cedar thicket. Maybe 50 yards. So we get up there. Neither one of us ever killed a deer before. This deer's flopping around. Goes, what do you think we ought to do? I go, guess I better shoot it again. So, of course, you had that big old pistol on your side, 357. Pulled it out. I said, I guess I'll have to shoot it again. So Boom! Where'd I shoot it? In the leg.
Oh no, gosh.
What I was gonna ask, where'd you shoot it the first time?
Well, it wasn't a kill shot. But I shot it in the leg and
no.
finally ended up, expiring. So I was happy. Then we're like, now what do we do?
Yeah.
Get in your little backpack, pull out the instructions, how to gut a deer. That's what I mean. It's just unbelievable from then till now. It's just, I don't know.
How about you,
away.
Mark?
My first deer I killed on a 3-acre property that I grew up on. Parents, like a kind of suburban little property neighborhood there. And I had, like, it was either the day before or the morning of, I had shot at a 1.5-year-old 4-pointer. This was the bow. I wanted my first deer ever to be a buck. So I passed on a lot of does. And I missed this 4-pointer and stuck right into a little tree. So I wasn't feeling too good about that. And a few years earlier, I had actually seen a pretty good buck from Michigan. I was using a longbow. And, but we made my mom wouldn't let us have a tree stand. So I always had to hunt from the ground. And we made ground blinds out of ski poles with camouflage cloth stapled to it.
Wow.
And then I would just stomp that in around me, and I would sit here next to a tree behind me, the cloth in front of me, but each of these ski poles stuck up like this. So I see this nice buck, biggest buck I've ever seen in my life. It was maybe a 2-year-old 10-pointer or 8-pointer or something, but that time it was like monstrous because I'd only ever seen 1.5-year-old bucks. Almost my entire life, that's all I ever saw growing up. So this deer comes walking out, and I remember drawing back and then following along as he walked across in front of me, and I'm following the arrows on the rest like this, and I'm back, and as I'm scanning, moving forward, that arrow hits the ski pole, clanks off, deer runs off. So this is what had been leading up to the first deer. Had missed that earlier today, and now today, I don't know, it was sometime in the afternoon, and again, suburbia, little property, neighborhood, and again, I'm sitting on the ground, and I don't remember exactly what I saw first, but I think I remember seeing this white flash coming towards me. And I got all pumped up, and finally something good's going to happen. And I'm shaking, and I'm watching, and I'm hearing the crash, flash away again, crash. And here comes a dog. White dog comes running in front of me, and then 2 people, husband and wife.
Great.
And they come tromping along, and they're talking, and the dog's running, and I'm mad. Like, this is my mom and dad's 3 acres.
Yeah.
So I get out with my bow and all my camera, like I'm storming over these people. I'm like, this is private property, blah, blah. And then they tell me, no, there's like some easement, blah, blah. I get in an argument with them. But whatever, they end up turning around. I go back, and I'm fuming and sitting in my blind all bummed out, and hunt's ruined. And it's like just before dark, I'm like, I'm going to rattle. At this time, I had no idea what I was doing.
Why not?
But why not?
Why not?
I had a little rattling
I've
bag.
seen it on a video.
Yeah, exactly. I saw those Drury guys do it. It worked for them. So I'm like crashing the rattling bag together. And lo and behold, like 2 minutes later, here comes that little 4-pointer again. And then right behind him, what I thought was a pretty nice buck, a little 6-pointer.
Yeah.
1.5-year-old right behind him. And it was one of those kind of blackout in the moment.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'd shot it. And it ran off and disappeared, and I was so excited.
Yard.
Well, yeah. I was so excited. I went running back up the hill up to Mom and Dad's house, and I remember telling my dad, and I was so excited. And all they could think about was, oh, geez, it probably got in the neighbor's yard. Don't go down there with a flashlight after dark to find it. We don't want it. I'm like, oh, man. So I ended up finding it. Yeah. It wasn't in someone's yard, but that was the first one.
That's
little
cool.
1.5-year-old, but it was
Awesome.
It
With
was
a
fun.
longbow?
No, that was a compound.
Compound.
That was compound by then.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. What's yours?
Well, mine's on video.
Yeah, I remember.
It's on the original Dream Season title, which was on VHS only back then. I think it was 96. I was 15.
Yep.
And I had hunted with Dad for 4, 5, 6 years and never kill. I mean, we weren't trying to kill a buck. We were kill whatever. I was just trying to get my first deer. Gun or bow. We hunted gun, bow, whatever. No luck ever. I mean, we had some horror stories. Back then, they didn't have any, they knocked on doors and, leased land, or if they could, a lot of it was, behind our house, which Dad's got 24 acres there in Bloomsdale. And, so we're hunting in Illinois, in Pike County. And a lot has led up to, I mean, it's 5, 6 years. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. And going, on trips with him and never saw anything. I mean, we just didn't have any kind of luck. And finally, we're in a spot, we're in a tree that I believe 10 days earlier he had killed the biggest buck of his life to that point. It was a 153-inch whitetail there in Illinois with his bow, and it was like a 40-acre piece or 50, 60, something like that. It was a small, relatively small track, but it was the right piece. And he was filming me, and it was getting dark, and steps a buck, and I'm hunting with a bow, and it was a bow that was handed down to me from a good friend, Billy Carl, who passed away about 3 years after that tragically in a car wreck. And I mean, like a brother to me. And it was his bow. And I don't even remember. I'm sure the bow's still at Dad's house, but I don't remember what kind of bow, like a high country or something like that. I don't remember what kind of bow it was. But back then it didn't matter. So the deer stepped out, and it was dark, and Dad's not the best camera guy to begin with, and it was out of focus, but it's on camera. It was before nocturnals and luminox and all that stuff, but you get the gist of what happened. But it was a 120-inch buck.
Wow.
And it's still on my wall of all the deer that I've shot, and that's not the biggest by any means, but I got a full shoulder mount of it, and it's in my office. And the mount's the original mount still. But the funny part about the story, so back then, I don't know why he felt the need, but we had to make it as if I was out there hunting on my own. And he was filming me, but it was this big, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to walk up to the truck, and it was spitting rain. I remember it vividly because it was getting dark, and the camera light back then, was dark well before it was it was dark visually. And so and it was out of focus, so we didn't know where I hit it. And so the idea was that he was going to be in front of his truck. The headlights are on. The camera's pointing there. And I walk into the scene like he's messing with his backpack. And I walk into the scene, and he goes, "Where you been?" And I said, "I shot one, and I'm 15, and I suck at acting, and it's so cheesy. And I'm, it's like, you feel awkward as a teenager.
Yeah,
It wasn't like Taylor's always been so good on camera. Wasn't like that. I sucked on camera, always sucked on camera. And so I'm like, he's like, "Where you been?" I'm like, "I shot one, Dad." So this is, we reenact all this stuff or whatever. And it's kind of spitting rain. And I'll never forget it because Yapper, Mike Joggers, who's been a longtime team member, he's my dad's best friend from high school. And he's never in front of the camera. He's always running the camera. So you very rarely see him on our videos and stuff. But he's been in there. And Tad Brown. And I don't know how or why those guys were there or if they came up. That part I don't remember. But they were there. And we tracked that deer together. And the conditions, it was starting to rain, so it forced us to go in ahead of time. I mean, usually we would have backed out and just waited till morning. But they were afraid that we would lose any blood trail we might have. So we went in, and we had these Coleman lanterns and everything. And I'll never forget that moment of seeing him on the ground and us walking up on him. And the excitement, I didn't know what I had done, right? I knew it was a long time to that point. A lot of hunts to get to that point, like 5-6 years worth. And I'll never forget kind of this group hug because Yapper had watched me grow up. Tad had practically watched me grow up. And they knew how hard it was and how long it took us. And I'll never forget that moment of the four of us finding that deer together and the experience. And that night after we gutted the deer and Yapper cut my shirt tail and he put some blood on my cheek. I'll never forget it. And after that, we went to Pizza Hut there, and probably was Pittsfield, I'd say. Yeah,
Pittsfield, yep.
We went into Pizza Hut and ate pizza late that night. As a 15-year-old, that's,
you were a man.
I felt like I was a man. And they, we got a couple pitchers of beer. They were drinking some beer. And the next day, we went over to Heartland Lodge, which at that time we were affiliated with. And Stan Potts was there. He was the head guide there, I think. And at that time, he was with Drury Outdoors. And we did a scene where we had it on the pole, the skinning pole, and Stan Potts walks up, and I thought, this guy, he was awesome. Like they treated Stan like he was a celebrity because he was killing big deer back then before a lot of people were. And I thought I was some kind of something because Stan Potts congratulated me. And I remember Charlie O'Brien was in camp. He was the old catcher, a major league ball player. He was in camp at Heartlands, and he had congratulated me. Like stuff like that, you'll never forget it. Never forget it. And
never will.
I never hunted again after that time until I was, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I proved I did it. I proved I could do it, and I never hunted again. I went and chased women and drank some beers in college and had a good time, but I came back to it, and it took a while. I worked for the company a couple of years before I ever hunted again.
Yep, just editing.
Yeah, just editing and filming or whatever. Yeah. And that turkey hunt that you talked about, that was my first hunt back. And then I deer hunted. We killed a doe. That Jim and I killed some doe. Both killed a doe that fall. And the following year, I killed a buck. So, crazy.
Memories.
And then you're hooked again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, now I appreciate it so much more because working like we work and not getting out to, like, I cherish the moments when I get out. And I know that at home, she doesn't necessarily understand why I go because I never kill. On that lease, it's like, why are you oh, Matt didn't, no luck again tonight, shocker.
Yeah,
but I love going, but it took me on my term to get back to that. Because before that, it was always on Dad's terms, and we were always lugging that camera, and I hated that camera. I hated it because there were so many times where I felt like turkey hunting, deer hunting, it screwed us.
Oh, it does. It does.
And it's like, God, man, can't we just leave it back at the truck? But we couldn't. They were building their company, and I get it now. But as a kid, it's hard to understand.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be tough.
And I just, by the time Taylor came up through the ranks, we were pretty established and killing decent sized deer, and it was just different. And she was very blessed in the opportunity to see deer and kill deer at almost any time they'd go out, and it just wasn't that way. So it kind of ruined it for me with that camera, and I just had to come back and want to experience it for my own self.
Man, it's interesting to hear how all these different ways of getting to the same place. We're all sitting here now, many years later, ate up with it. But we all have to start in our own way.
My wife always asked me, if you weren't working there, would you still do it? And I absolutely would do it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would still film it, though. I would still have a camera person with me because, that's the funnest part about it.
Oh, it is. Sitting there talking to somebody, enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Because when something does happen, if you turn around, you ain't got nobody with you, you're like,
See, I'm torn on that one. Like, I've had both, and I haven't been with a cameraman as much as you have. Like, you're always with a cameraman.
Yeah.
So I do, it is fun when I'm with a cameraman, but at the same time, I also sometimes just want to be by myself. Like, I've had times where people offer to come film me and stuff. I'm like, I'd rather just be out. I don't want to deal with another person or have to worry about them not being able to do what I want to do or when I want to do it, or sometimes there's that ornery, selfish, just I want to do it my way.
No, I like that idea too. I understand 100%. That way, when I miss, nobody
sees
it. We always know. Unless you erase the footage, we always know.
Coon Dog, you got any other good missing stories or meltdown stories?
Oh, missing.
Or funny?
Just so many. Well, of course, once with Mark, I missed a deer one night, and Mark turned to the camera and goes, "If you ever want to rob a bank, go to Peevely if Coon Dog's working, because you're not going to get shot." And he did that, and then we put it. Yeah, it was on too, and everybody seen it. Great.
Of course, we put, and I think the editors made a funny,
they did a
cop piece in there. Yeah. So
hammered me there. But I missed so much.
They all blend together.
Yeah, they all blend together.
I always think of those good reactions, though. As much as the misses, it's just part of it. But those reactions when you actually hit your mark, hit what you aimed at, they're so good because of all the struggle to get to that point. Yes. That's what I think people relate to, the passion that comes out.
Oh, and you hunt a whole week with Mark. And you sit there and watch deer. Shooter. Oh, never mind. I know that deer. Oh, shooter. Oh, no, that one needs to get shot with a bow. Finally, I sat my gun down one night. I go, you just let me know when you want me to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and he's going, another deer. Oh, yeah. And then one night we're hunting a bean field. He goes, Doc, shoot her. Oh, I don't know that deer. Go ahead and kill it.
That was what, at the time, your largest buck, too,
That
right?
one was, yes.
156?
Three, I
Something
think,
like that? Yeah.
153, yep.
Yeah, that's one of those classic hunts.
Yeah.
That reaction, that was the one you referenced.
Was it the one we were talking about?
Yeah, where you slump down in the
Oh,
mud.
yes.
Like, I'm
Yes.
stressed.
Oh, I was stressed.
Yeah, I'll never forget it.
I'd
give
like
me
to
a
watch
heart
that
attack.
again right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I hit it. Oh, load it. Then he starts screaming at you. Shoot again. Man.
That's the one that
Ugh.
like reared up,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
No, that's the one I shot in the liver.
Okay.
I hunched up and started walking away, and Mark's going crazy.
That's right. The one that reared up, like snow came up. That's another one that
was
I always
Iowa,
think about. Yeah.
That's the one we had right in front of us, and I couldn't get a shot because he was walking away from me. And Mark was over this side, and he could see it. He goes, "Are you kidding me?" I'm going, I don't want to shoot. You know, you don't want to mess a deer up on Mark's farm. Oh. Might go pack your bags, go home.
Yeah.
It sounds rough. I'd be scared to hunt there.
It's just, you know, he's a serious guy when it comes to his hunting.
Yeah, he
And
grows
it's-
his deer.
Yeah,
puts
he-
time in it.
he's in a position he is in because of the way that he is.
Yeah.
And so you just got to know going into it,
Right.
it's his place, and you better mind your P's and Q's.
That's right. He'll roll in the camp, and he'll, okay, dog, here's your deer you can shoot.
And
I go,
he's
how am I
got-
going to remember that? He goes, you better take a picture of them.
Yeah.
So you're taking your phone, taking a picture of the deer. So then deers come out, you're going, which one's it?
In that regard, I'm sure it kind of makes it not. I mean, it's always a good time. And don't get me wrong,
Oh,
like
it's a
going to
blast.
Mark's is a blast. You have fun when you're up there, but the hunting side of it, it could be stressful. I'm sure. I've never hunted deer with him, but
Oh, it's-
turkeys plenty of time.
It's fun. I love it.
So
A lot of people dream of that.
Yeah.
A lot of people would like die to go hunt
Yeah.
back
They'd
through
have
his farm.
nightmares after one day. I'll tell you that.
but you wouldn't give it up for the
I
world.
wouldn't give it up, no.
Yeah.
Your dad still owes me $1.
Good luck getting
Yeah, I
it.
know. That's what he said. I go, you know, you still, because I used to have to shoot 2 does to earn $1.
Oh, that's right. So we had a deal where on our team, like they get points for everything they do, our subcontractors, okay? And at the time we used to give away a hunt to top point earners, a hunt on Mark's farm or a hunt on Terry's farm or whatever. And you know, so one year I guess you got the hunt, but what was the deal? Why didn't you go?
Well, prior to that, I had Mark and Terry used to allow me to shoot 2 does to help with their deer management.
That's right. Okay.
So I was over in Illinois on the Pike County farm, and I shot 2 does. And we were over at turkey camp. I go, hey, don't you still owe me $1? He goes, good luck with that.
You wouldn't want one now.
So, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Is there a rivalry between Mark and Terry at all with the deer they shoot or anything like that?
I don't think so. It's so different. I'm sure internally they're always happy for each other.
Yes.
I'm sure internally there's a little bit of, you know, because Dad's been there every step of the way with Mark, but Mark made a conscious decision back in the 90s to move to Iowa in residency, and I mean he lives there.
Yeah.
And Dad didn't. He decided to stay in Bloomsdale, and he has his farm. You know, at the time he had a farm in Illinois, and then he bought a farm. He sold that and bought his farm in North Missouri. And it's just different. They have different hunting styles, but they have different herds completely.
Completely.
And it's not the same. I mean, we just cannot raise, you know, the deer that Mark does on his farm on Dad's farm. It just can't happen. And it's partially due to neighbors. It's partially due to road hunting. It's partially
Rifle
due to
state.
dogs. It's partially due to,
Yeah.
to rifle state. There's a lot of factors that factor into it. But we can't grow them past 4 years old. It just he used to really try hard to focus on 5-year-olds and older. And we just can't get them to that. If every deer I ever passed up there got killed by a neighbor. Every good deer that I ever passed got killed by a neighbor. And we finally got to that point, like most of America, where it's like, all right, we might need to pull back our standards a little bit. And so it's a 150-inch farm, you know, and that's a trophy up there. Mm-hmm. It's a trophy anywhere.
buck.
Oh, heck
but
yeah.
a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old 150 or a 5-year-old 150 or 160 on Dad's place would be a 170 on Mark's
Yes.
place at the same age class. It's a different subspecies altogether. I mean, and it's different. So, you know, they're happy for each other. And I'm sure there's a little bit of Dad wishing that he had those opportunities, because they always talk about that evolution of a hunter. I've heard guys at Moss Yoke talk about this being a gamekeeper or whatever. It's, you want to shoot a lot of, you want to shoot one thing, then you want to shoot a lot of those one things, and then you want to bring somebody else into, or you want to shoot the biggest one. Mm-hmm. Well, Dad I feel like he's never gotten to get to his next evolution. Like he's almost having to skip over that evolution of getting after the biggest one. And he's never said that. This is just my take on it, because he loves his farm. He absolutely loves it. He could totally sell it, and he could get a return on his investment and move to somewhere else where he's got a better situation, but he loves his place, so he's chose to stay there. And
it's beautiful.
It is absolutely. Aaron Bennett says it all the time, and he's a Whitetail Properties guy, so he sees a lot of farms. He says that it is hands down the most beautiful farm in North Missouri.
Oh yeah.
And it is. It's laid out great, and Dad likes the fact that he can get around easily on it, and he's built enough box blinds on it at this point. He's getting up in his age, and it's comfortable for him.
Yeah.
So where Mark was never settling, Dad, I think, is kind of settled to a standpoint of he's okay with this caliber of deer.
That's what makes him happy.
And it's not that he's any less of a hunter than
No.
Mark. It's just the circumstances that he's on his own will decided to stick with. And so it's made the hunting opportunities what they are for him.
Right.
So I that's what I attribute it. He's never said it that way to me, but I mean you can I've been around him obviously my whole life. That's the way I would attribute it to.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not really a rivalry.
No.
Well, they both have great setups, it seems like. And
Yeah.
to your point, and it comes down to something we talk about a lot, which is you have to hunt your own hunt. And you have to have your own goals and expectations for where you're at and your circumstances.
Yeah.
And, what makes Terry happy might be different than what makes Mark happy. And, if Terry went into his hunting season every year thinking he had to shoot bucks like Mark because he sees Mark on TV doing it, well, then he certainly wouldn't be happy. But
He wouldn't
because
shoot anything.
Well, he wouldn't, yeah.
So we don't have him.
Yeah, but because he knows what he's got there, and I'm sure he as you said, he really likes the situation he has there.
Yeah.
And goes into the season knowing that.
His thing is always, every year, the last 3-4 years, is always making sure he harvests the most mature buck he has.
Yeah.
Right? The biggest deer he's got on the place. And he has done that every single year. And he will hunt 60 days to get that chance at that one and pass 20, 140 class deer, 150 class. I mean, he's to the point where he's passing, 150 type deer because he's wanting just the oldest upper end deer he's got. And he's killed every one that he's had on his place.
Wow.
They just usually only got 1 or 2 a year on his place,
Yeah.
which is great,
Yeah.
But he's got a decent chunk of land to have only 1 or 2. We talk about it a lot. He'll kill 20, 30 does a year typically, and he's done that for, I think he's owned that farm 11 years, 12 years.
Long time.
So he's done the managing side of it, but it has not helped the overall antler growth, or we just cannot kill enough does. We cannot. I mean, I bet if he killed 50, he'd have 100 the next year. It just cannot kill. His carrying capacity is very high, but the buck to toe ratio is so out of whack. And it just isn't. I don't know. It's a weird situation up there.
Tough.
That being said, you could go, if you bought that place as is, you could go in there and you would kill trophy. I mean, it is set up. You could kill trophy deer every single year, but like a Booner or 170 class deer is going to be one every, 4 or 5. That's just the way it is. 160s kind of seems to be the cap up there.
Right.
I'll take it.
I would take it.
I'll take it too. Yeah, me too.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any other good stories
No,
we need
man,
to share?
it's been
covered
fun.
some good ones.
This is a
Not,
fun one.
no agenda, just kind of chatting.
I've enjoyed it
People
too.
like that because they don't get to see or hear what we actually do in camp or what we see. It's people like that side of us.
If anybody heard that Mark story at the beginning, don't tell him I said it.
Keep that one on the DL. All right, well, we'll wrap this one up. Coon Dog, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
again.
you guys for having me.
Yep.
This has
Been
been
a blast.
fun.
Well,
Like we said earlier, we're going to have to bring you in on some more of these.
Yeah,
because,
Coon Dog's a regular now.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, for everyone out there at home, thank you for listening. If you'd like to continue listening to the audio version on your phone, car, whatever it might be, you can go to iTunes or the podcast app on your iPhone, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere like that. Subscribe. You can submit your own question at wiredtohunt.com/100%wild. And Matt?
You can always check us out. The video version of this podcast is on the Drury Outdoors YouTube channel. And while you're there, please watch. We put up 3-4 different new videos a week. So we're really putting a lot of effort into the YouTube side of things. It's definitely the future where we want to be. It's totally replaced DVDs for us, and it's pretty neat. So check it out. And as always, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and DruryOutdoors.com.
Is there any recent coon dog videos on YouTube that people can go check out?
Oh, man, I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure we did a Throwback Thursday with one of those ones that we're talking about with the good reaction in the snow.
Yeah, I need to find that.
Yeah, it's up on YouTube. So we do a Throwback Thursday every week and try to go back into the archives and get those good, fun hunts. So, yeah, definitely check it out. We got a good coon dog one up there.
Awesome.
Yeah, well.
All right, well, thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today.
Peace.
Have a good day.